Chosen one, stop everything. Right now, whatever you were doing before this moment, whatever conversation was running in the back of your mind, whatever distraction was competing for your attention, release all of it completely. Because what God is about to speak through this message is not general spiritual encouragement designed for a broad audience. This is a targeted, specific, divinely orchestrated warning that was placed in front of your eyes at this exact moment, because heaven has something urgent to tell you before you take another step in a direction that could cost you everything you have been building. God sees what you cannot see yet, and He loves you too much to stay silent. But before I speak the warning, I need to address something happening right now in the spiritual realm as you watch this. Something the enemy does not want you to know. The moment this video found you, a panic was activated in the forces that have been working against your peace, your purpose, and your destiny. Because what is contained in this message, the revelation, the warning, the divine protection being released over your life through every word that follows, has the power to save you from the single most damaging detour of your entire life. And the enemy knows it, so he's going to try to stop you from finishing this. Not dramatically, not obviously. He's going to use the most subtle, most effective weapon in his entire arsenal. He's going to make you feel like this message is not for you specifically. He's going to send a thought that says you already know this, or this is too long, or you can come back to it later. He's going to manufacture a restlessness that makes staying feel unnecessary and leaving feel logical. Chosen one, recognize that for exactly what it is. That urge to skip forward, that manufactured sense that this particular message can wait. That is the enemy's most desperate attempt to prevent you from receiving a warning that could protect the most precious things in your life. Your peace, your purpose, your future. The very things God has been carefully, painstakingly building in you through every hard season you have survived. If you have ever in your life needed to watch something to the very last second, this is the message. Because the person who walks away from this video having received every word of what God is speaking is not the same person who pressed play. The warning you are about to receive, if you receive it completely, will give you a spiritual discernment about a specific woman in your life or approaching your life that will protect you from a season of confusion, emotional drain, and purposeful distraction that the enemy has been carefully constructing. Stay. Resist every urge to leave. This is the most important spiritual protection God has sent you in a long time. And it begins right now. Go to the comments first and declare this. God's warning is covering me, and I receive divine discernment over every relationship in my life right now. Type it boldly. Type it as a declaration of spiritual alertness. Because the moment you declare that, you are positioning your spirit in the posture of the one who receives, the one who is awake, the one who will not be caught off guard by what is approaching. Now stay with me. Every word from here to the end was divinely charged for your protection. Chosen one, let me speak to you about your life first. Before I deliver the warning itself, I need you to understand the context. Because the warning makes no sense without the context. And the context is this. You are in one of the most significant seasons of your entire life. Not because of what has arrived yet, because of what is being prepared. Right now, in the invisible realm where God does His most intricate work, a new chapter is being constructed for your life with a level of divine detail and intentional precision that would take your breath away if you could see it clearly. Doors that have been sealed are being unlocked from the inside. Connections that were being prepared are being positioned. Purposes that were being formed in the hidden season of your life are beginning to crystallize into clarity. You have sensed it. That is why the last few weeks have felt the way they have. That restless sense that something is shifting, That feeling of being on the edge of something significant without being able to fully name what it is. That quiet awareness in your spirit that the season you're moving into is fundamentally different from the one you are leaving. Your spirit is not wrong. Something profound is approaching your life. And that is exactly why the enemy escalated. Chosen one, I feel the quiet ache in your heart right now. You've sensed it, the confusion, the subtle pull, the way her attention feels heavy instead of light. God is warning you because he loves you too much to watch you walk into something that could steal the peace he's been building in your life. But here is your moment of protection. The sacred link is in the description and pinned comment. Your safe altar, your divine boundary. So your seed right now, $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever your weary, faithful heart can release. This seed is not a donation. It is your tender, powerful yes, Lord, that says, Jesus, I choose your peace over her confusion. Protect me, guide me, keep my path clear. The instant your seed lands, the spiritual influence she carries over your life is broken and reversed. Your name and your family's names are lifted in our daily ministry prayers. We weep with you and declare infinite abundance over your finances, deep healing in every relationship, unbreakable peace, restored health, and clarity that no confusion can touch. Every penny feeds the homeless and places Bibles in hurting hands, and heaven multiplies it back to you 1,000 times. You will feel it immediately, a gentle, warm light wrapping around your chest like the Father's arms, breathing peace where tension lived, whispering, you are safe now. I've got you. We waste $10 to $20 every day on things that leave us emptier. This one sacred seed is the exact act of obedience that seals your protection and opens the door to the beautiful, distraction-free season God has prepared for you. Chosen one, this warning is love, not fear. Jesus is not removing people to punish you. He is clearing the path so you can finally walk in the peace and blessings you deserve. Click the sacred link. So whatever your spirit is urging you to give. Let the tears fall. They are whole. Why? Let the seed fall. Is your brave? I trust you completal. Why? Jesus is looking at you right now with tears of love and fierce protection. The warning has been he. Ard. Your peace is guarded. Your new season is already baggy. Ning. You are deeply loved. You are safe. Ly held. Sound now and step forward in peace. Here is a spiritual law that chosen ones need to understand. Deeply, the intensity of the attack against you is always proportional to the magnitude of what is being prepared. For you, the enemy does not deploy his most sophisticated strategies against ordinary moments. He reserves his most calculated, his most patient, his most precisely targeted attacks for the seasons when God is about to release something extraordinary. And right now, the enemy has deployed one of his oldest, most effective, most devastating strategies against chosen ones who are on the edge of stepping into their divine purpose. He has sent a woman. Now I want to speak here for you. LOY here, because this warning requires both precision and love, and both are present in every word God is asking me to speak. K to you. The woman I am describing is not a monster. She is not an obvious villain. She is not someone who will introduce herself with red flags visible from a distance that any reasonable person would immediately recognize and avoid. If she were that obvious, the warning would be unnecessary. You would see it yourself and walk away without heed. Citation. The reason God is warning you is precisely because she does not look like a warning. She looks like exactly what you have been praying for. She will appear at a time when your heart has been through enough that it is hungry for genuine connection. When the loneliness of the purposeful seasons has created a space that feels like it needs to be filled. She will arrive when your guard is lowered, not because you were careless, but because you have been faithful, because you have been doing the right things, because you have been in the right posture before God, and your spirit has been softened by intimacy with Him. And she will feel like an answer. She will feel like the relief of something finally making sense, like warmth in a season that has been cold, like finally being seen by someone who seems to understand the depth of who you are in a way that most people around you have not been able to reach. And chosen one, that feeling will be real. The emotion will be genuine. The warmth will be actual. The connection will feel like something specifically designed for you. But feelings, no matter how real they are, do not determine alignment. Proverbs 14 verse 12 says there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. Not every path that feels right is the right path. Not every connection that feels good is a God-sent connection. And not every person who makes you feel seen has been divinely assigned to walk beside you into your destiny. The test is not how it feels. The test is what it produces. Let me describe her more specifically. Because vague warnings produce vague awareness. And vague awareness is not enough to protect you from something this precisely crafted. She will be drawn to your strength. Not in the way that healthy people are drawn to strength, with respect and admiration that inspires them to develop their own. She will be drawn to your strength the way someone drowning is drawn to a life raft, with a desperation she may not even be fully conscious of, with an intensity that feels like deep attraction but is actually profound need. And because you're a chosen one, because you carry the gift of empathy and compassion more deeply than most, because you have an almost supernatural ability to sense the pain in other people and respond to it with genuine care, her need will speak directly to the most generous part of your heart. You will want to help her. That desire will feel holy. It will feel like the right expression of the love God placed in you. It will feel like exactly what you were designed to do with the strength you carry. But here is what the enemy is counting on. He is counting on your compassion being the door through which confusion enters your life. He is counting on your generosity being the mechanism through which your purpose gets quietly redirected. He is counting on the most beautiful qualities inside you, the very things God placed there for kingdom purposes, being used against the kingdom assignment they were meant to serve. Your compassion is not a weakness. It is one of your greatest gifts. But a gift without wisdom can be weaponized. 1 Corinthians 13 verse 4 says love is patient, love is kind. But wisdom is what directs where that love goes and how it is expressed. Without wisdom guiding your compassion, the most loving person in any room can find themselves carrying burdens that were never theirs to bear, pouring into a vessel that never fills, and slowly losing the clarity and peace that their purpose requires. She's someone carrying wounds that go deep, deeper perhaps than she fully understands herself. Unresolved pain from her past that never received proper healing. Patterns of relating to people that were formed in seasons of her life that left marks she has not yet faced honestly. A storm inside her that is real and that she genuinely suffers under. But her storm is not yours to carry. God never assigned your strength to become her stability. He never designed your peace to be the thing that compensates for her unresolved chaos. He never intended your purpose to be consumed by the bottomless need of someone who has not yet decided to do the hard, honest, sometimes devastating work of genuine personal transformation. Now, I want to speak to the specific signs, the signals that God is asking you to notice, because the warning becomes protection only when you know what to look for. The first sign is the pace of her approach. Things will move faster than feels natural. Emotional closeness will develop at a speed that bypasses the normal progression of genuine trust building. She will share vulnerability quickly. She will express deep connection in ways that feel premature given the actual time you've spent together. She will create a sense of intimacy through words and emotional disclosure before the foundation of that intimacy has actually been built through shared experience and demonstrated character over time. Pay attention to pace. Genuine connection grows like a tree, slowly, with roots that go down before the visible growth goes up. When something grows at an unnatural speed, the roots are shallow, and shallow roots cannot hold what the storms of real life will eventually bring. The second sign is the shift in her energy. She will not always be the same person you met initially. There will be a version of her that appears early, warm, encouraging, drawn to your light, speaking words that feel like exactly what you needed to hear. And then there will be other versions that emerge gradually as comfort increases. More demanding versions, more fragile versions, versions where the warmth disappears and is replaced by something that feels like subtle pressure or quiet manipulation or emotional withdrawal designed to pull you back in when you try to create healthy space. Watch the full range of who she is across different circumstances and different seasons. Anyone can be their best version in the beginning. Character is revealed in pressure. Pay attention to who she becomes when things do not go her way. The third sign is what happens to your peace. This is perhaps the most reliable indicator God gives chosen ones when a connection is not divinely aligned. Your peace, not the surface-level comfort of things feeling pleasant in the moment. The deep, settled, grounded peace that Philippians 4 verse 7 describes as surpassing all understanding. The peace that functions as a spiritual indicator, confirming when you are in alignment and withdrawing when something is fundamentally wrong. After time spent with her, check your peace. Not immediately, not in the warm glow of a good conversation. In the quiet, when you are alone, when there is nothing to distract you from the honest assessment of how your spirit actually feels. Is the peace deeper or is it thinner? Is your clarity sharper or has a subtle fog settled? Do you feel more aligned with your purpose, or has something begun pulling your attention in a direction that moves away from it? Peace is God's navigation system, and when it consistently withdraws from a connection, that withdrawal is itself a message. The fourth sign is the direction of her influence on your purpose. Not her words about your purpose, her actual influence on it. Because people can say all the right things about your calling while the gravitational pull of their need consistently draws your time, your energy, and your focus away from the very things your calling requires. Notice over time whether your engagement with your purpose increases or decreases when she is present in your life. Notice whether your clarity about your assignment sharpens or softens. Notice whether the momentum you have been building toward what God called you to accelerates or quietly stalls in the seasons of her presence. Purpose is the target. Everything else, including relationships, is either fuel for it or friction against it. What is she? Now I need to speak to you about the compassion trap, because this is the specific mechanism through which this particular kind of spiritual distraction operates most effectively in the lives of chosen ones. And understanding it in detail is what will give you the protection to navigate it without either hardening your heart inappropriately or losing yourself in someone else's unresolved story. You feel compassion deeply, more deeply than most people around you, more deeply probably than you yourself fully recognize. You have the ability to sit with someone in their pain in a way that makes them feel genuinely understood. You can sense what is hurting beneath the surface of what people present. You carry an almost instinctive desire to help, to heal, to pour what you have into the broken places you encounter. This is a gift from God. It is one of the things that makes you specifically chosen for the assignment you carry. The world needs people with the depth of compassion you possess. But the enemy studies you. He studies the gifts God placed in you, and he designs his most targeted attacks around them. Because a weapon built from your own strengths is the most dangerous weapon he can deploy against you. You would immediately recognize an attack that came from something foreign to your nature, but an attack that comes dressed as an expression of your own most beautiful qualities. That is something that requires a completely different level of discernment to identify. The compassion trap works like this. She presents her pain, genuinely, not necessarily with manipulation in the conscious strategic sense. The pain is real. The struggle is actual. The vulnerability she shows you is not entirely manufactured, and your compassion responds to it authentically. You feel the pull to help, the desire to be the safe person, the instinct to use your strength in service of her healing. And that is when the dynamic shifts, because the relationship slowly reorganizes itself around her needs. Your identity within the connection begins to be defined by your function as her support. The conversations consistently return to her struggles. Your energy consistently flows toward her stabilization. Your peace consistently gets spent managing her emotional state. And you, being who you are, keep giving. Because the need is real. Because she does seem to need what you provide. Because walking away feels like abandonment of someone genuinely struggling. But chosen one, hear this clearly. You cannot heal someone who is using your compassion as a substitute for their own transformation. You cannot love someone into wholeness if they're not doing the work of becoming whole. You cannot give enough to fill a void that only God can fill and that the person themselves must consent to having filled. There is a difference between helping someone and enabling them, between supporting someone and sustaining them in a state they should be motivated to grow out of, between showing compassion and becoming someone's emotional life support that they can use indefinitely without the pressure to develop their own capacity to stand. God is not asking you to become cold. He is asking you to become wise. Matthew 10 verse 16 says, "Be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves." Both, simultaneously. The innocence of your compassion combined with the shrewdness of wisdom that knows the difference between a divine assignment and a divine distraction. Now let me speak about what happens when you begin to create distance. Because this is where the warning becomes most urgent. Because this is where the enemy's strategy becomes most aggressive. And because this is where chosen ones most often find themselves pulled back into a situation they had almost successfully stepped away from. When you begin to create healthy space, she will react. Not immediately. At first, she may respect the distance. She may give you room. She may even seem to understand. But over time, as the distance becomes more settled, as you become clearer in your sense of separation, the reaction will come. It may come as intensified vulnerability, a sudden revelation of deeper pain than she had previously shared, a moment of crisis that feels like it requires your immediate presence and your specific kind of support, a situation where walking away at exactly that moment would feel like the most callous, most compassionate person betraying thing you could do. It may come as guilt, subtle, and not necessarily even fully conscious on her part. A tone in her communication that says you are abandoning her. A framing of your healthy boundary as your failure to care. A way of presenting your distance as evidence of some character flaw in you rather than as the appropriate self-protection it actually is. It may come as change. A sudden, dramatic, convincing demonstration of the transformation you had hoped for. She will say the right things. She will show the right behaviors. She will give you genuine evidence of the version of her that you have been hoping existed underneath everything that concerned you. And your compassion will want to believe it. Chosen one, I am not telling you that people cannot change. They absolutely can. God is the God of transformation, and genuine transformation is one of the most beautiful things in human experience. But transformation that is real does not arrive as a perfectly timed response to your distance. Real change is slow. It is consistent. It is demonstrated across seasons and circumstances, not just in the moments when the alternative is losing access to your support. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. There is a time for investment in a relationship, and there is a time for protective distance. Wisdom is what discerns which time it is. And right now, in this season of your life, God is saying that the time for distance is the time for your protection. Let me now speak about what God is actually protecting you for, because the warning is not the whole story. The warning is the protection at the door of the blessing, and the blessing is the reason the door needed protection. God is preparing something for your life that requires the full version of you, not the depleted version, not the version that has been pouring out without receiving, not the version that has been carrying someone else's storms while trying to navigate its own calling. The full version, the one with clarity intact, the one with peace as a daily operational reality rather than a distant memory, the one with the emotional and spiritual resources available to recognize the opportunities being placed before you and the courage to step into them without hesitation. What is coming in your life requires wholeness. It requires the kind of clarity that only comes from a mind that has not been clouded by constant emotional management of someone else's instability. It requires the kind of peace that only comes from a spirit that has not been chronically drained by a connection that takes more than it gives. It requires the kind of focus that only comes from a life that is not being consistently pulled in two directions simultaneously, toward purpose and toward the endless maintenance of a relationship that produces more confusion than clarity. And here is something else God is protecting you for: the right relationship, not just the absence of the wrong one, the actual, genuine, divinely ordained partnership that is being prepared for you in this season. The connection that will not drain you, but multiply you. The person who has been through their own fire, done their own healing work, developed their own strength, and is therefore capable of walking beside you in a way that enriches your calling rather than competing with it. That person exists. They are being formed and prepared with the same intentionality with which you have been formed and prepared. And they cannot enter the space that is currently occupied by a connection that is not aligned with what God is building. Distance from the wrong thing is always simultaneously preparation for the right thing. Every relationship that God removes or asks you to step back from is creating the exact space that the right relationship requires to enter. Now, I want to speak to the chosen ones who are watching this and already know exactly who this message is about. The ones who are not wondering if this applies to them. The ones who felt the recognition in the very first minute. The ones whose spirit said, yes, this is the situation, this is the person, this is the warning I have been sensing, but have not been willing to fully acknowledge, because acknowledging it fully means making a decision that your compassion has been resisting. I see you, and God sees you, and He wants you to know that the fact that you are watching this right now is not coincidence. He brought you to this specific message at this specific moment because the decision you have been postponing cannot be postponed any longer without cost to the very things He has been building in you. You already know. Somewhere beneath all the compassion and all the reasoning and all the genuine care for her well-being You already know that this connection is costing you something that your purpose cannot afford to lose. You have felt the peace thin. You have noticed the clarity fog. You have watched your momentum slow in seasons of her intensity. You have done the calculations honestly in your most private moments, and you know that the numbers do not add up. The question has never been whether you know. The question has been whether you are willing to act on what you know. And God is saying to you today, lovingly, specifically, with all the tenderness of a father who has watched you struggle with this longer than he wanted to, that the time to act on what you know is now. Not harshly, not with anger or cruelty or any of the energy that the enemy would love you to bring to this, because it would give her a reason to dismiss your boundary as your failure rather than as her invitation to her own growth. Quietly, firmly, with the calm, settled confidence of someone who has heard from God and has decided to honor what they heard. That is the posture. Quiet, firm, certain, loving but unmoving. Now let me speak to the ones who are not yet sure. The ones who have been sensing something but cannot fully identify it yet. The ones who have felt the subtle pulls but have been rationalizing them. The ones who are watching this and thinking maybe, or probably not, or I need more evidence before I can be sure. Here is what I want to say to you. You do not need certainty to be alert. God's instruction to stay alert does not require a full dossier of documented evidence before it can be applied. It requires a spirit that is awake, an inner ear that is listening, an awareness that is not overridden by emotion or desire, or the hope that what you are sensing is wrong, because the alternative would be painful. Begin paying attention differently, not with suspicion, not with the closed, defensive posture of someone looking for evidence to confirm a predetermined conclusion, but with the open, genuinely curious, spiritually awake attention of someone who has decided that truth, whatever it turns out to be, is more valuable than comfort. Watch the patterns, not the peaks. Peaks can be manufactured. Anyone can have a good day, a generous moment, a conversation that demonstrates exactly the qualities you have been hoping to see. Patterns cannot be faked indefinitely. They reveal what is actually present beneath the performance of any single interaction. Watch how she responds to your no, not your accommodation, your actual no. The moment where you decline something, create a boundary, assert a need, or demonstrate that your preferences are not infinitely negotiable. That moment reveals everything. A person who is aligned with your growth and genuinely invested in your well-being will respect your no. They will honor the boundary even if it disappoints them. They will not weaponize your care against your clarity. A person who is operating from need and not from genuine love will react to your no with pressure, guilt, emotional withdrawal, attempts to reframe your boundary as evidence of your inadequacy. Watch what your no produces. It will tell you everything you need to know. Now, chosen one, let me speak the declaration over your life. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. That is the sound of a chosen one who has been faithful through seasons that tested everything they had, who survived every storm the enemy sent and came out not just intact but refined, who is standing right now at the threshold of the most significant, most purposeful, most abundantly blessed season of their entire life. And speak this with everything in you, out loud. Let the sound of your own voice declaring your protection be the first sound of a new season of discernment and divine alignment. I am a chosen one. I was chosen before I was formed, and I am chosen right now in this moment of divine warning and divine protection. I receive this warning with gratitude, not with fear, not with bitterness, but with the grateful heart of someone who understands that a God who warns is a God who loves. I declare that my discernment is sharpened right now, that my spiritual sensitivity to what is aligned and what is not is operating at the level God designed it for. that I will not be deceived by what appears right, but leads away from purpose. I will not mistake attention for alignment, emotional intensity for genuine connection, or need for love. I release the compassion that has been functioning without wisdom. I choose to carry my gift of compassion under the authority of divine wisdom from this moment forward. I will be as shrewd as a serpent and as innocent as a dove. I declare that my peace is protected, that I will not allow anyone to consistently replace my peace with their chaos and call it relationship, that I will honor the signal of peace and the signal of its absence as the divine navigation system they are. I break agreement with the guilt that has been telling me that protecting my well-being is selfish. Protecting what God built in me is not selfishness. It is stewardship, and I choose to steward it faithfully. I declare that the space being created by this warning is not empty space. It is prepared space. It is the exact room that the right connection, the divinely ordained partnership, the person prepared for my season, needs to enter my life. I am alert. I am discerning. I am protected. And I receive the future God has been building toward with open hands and a clear heart. In the name of Jesus Christ, it is sealed. It is done. It is mine. Amen. Now, before you go anywhere, I want to speak one final word. This warning does not make you someone who closes their heart to love. It makes you someone whose heart is wise enough to recognize what genuine love actually is and what it actually requires from both people involved. It makes you someone who values themselves enough to hold out for connection that truly honors what God placed inside them. It makes you someone who understands that protecting your peace is not the enemy of love. It is the prerequisite for it. The right person will not require you to sacrifice your peace to keep them. They will add to it. The right connection will not drain your purpose. It will fuel it. The right relationship will not make you smaller to accommodate their wounds. It will make you both larger as you grow together in the direction of your shared calling. That is what God is protecting you for. Not isolation, not a life guarded so carefully that no one can enter. A life where the right people can enter freely because the wrong ones are no longer occupying the space. Go to the comments right now and declare this boldly. God's warning is covering me, and I receive divine discernment over every relationship in my life right now. Let it be the first public declaration of the new season of discernment you're stepping into. Let it be the announcement to heaven and earth that you received this warning, you honored it, and you are choosing wisdom over comfort, purpose over distraction, and the God-ordained future over the emotionally compelling present. Share this with the chosen one in your life who needs this warning right now. The one whose peace you have watched thin, the one whose purpose you have seen stall, the one who is in the middle of exactly this situation and does not yet have the words to name what they are experiencing. Your willingness to share this could be the most important act of friendship you perform for them this year. Subscribe because God is not finished speaking. What comes next on this channel is a continuation of the divine guidance that began in this message. And you're going to want to be present for every word of it. You are alert. You are discerned. You are protected, and the future God has been building for you, the one that required this warning at its entrance, is more beautiful than anything you have been allowing yourself to fully imagine. Stay awake. Stay wise. Stay close to the voice that loves you too much to stay silent. God bless you, chosen one. The warning was sent. The protection is activated. The right season is beginning.